All right. Hey guys, how you doing? Ron Raymond here from the Raymond Report for Friday. Love saying that. Friday. Football Friday, October 2nd. Hopefully you guys are having yourself a good start to your weekend. As always, I'm also joined here by my good friend and co-host, Ross Benjamin of rbwins.com. Happy Football Friday, buddy.
Hey, buddy, it's always a good Friday when we got football on tap on Saturday and Sunday, right? We covered college football yesterday. Today, we're going to cover the NFL. And, you know, man, I just get excited when I talk about this stuff. So it's our passion, right, Ron? And if you're not excited, then to talk about this and share your knowledge with the viewership out there, then you're in the wrong industry. And I wake up every morning, man. I mean this sincerely when I tell you, buddy. I wake up every morning to thank the Lord that I love what I do on a daily basis. And when you love what you do, you're not working. And when you love what you do, you strive to be excellent. And I thoroughly believe in that theory, bud. So I hope all is well for you. And I'm looking forward to the show.
Yeah, no, you know what? You're preaching to the choir here, man, because I say the same thing to my nieces. And I said, you know, like they're in university now. And I said, make sure, you know, that you realize that one of the most important things in your life is your daily routine, because your daily routine is what's going to make your mood setting for the day, right? And if you're going to work in French, there's a saying that tu vas au travail en reculant. That means you're going to work backwards. You know what I mean?
Yeah, exactly.
You don't want to go to work walking backwards. You want to go to work with a bounce in your step. And I'm the same way with you, buddy. It's just you wake up. I love what I do, and you know, I have a saying. At the end of the year, when I do my taxes, if I have $1 to show for, I win. Yeah. Because I was able to do what I wanted in that year in my life. I got everything that I needed, and I have $1 to show for. And I think that's one of my models. And another one,
we talk about work. Oh, go ahead. I'm sorry, Ron. You're about to say something funny, and I don't want to stop it.
Yeah. Oh, while I'm on a roll, right? I always tell my buddy, I said, you know, when you can cut your grass on a Monday morning, you know, you've got life pretty good.
There you go.
I know, it sounds stupid and probably cocky.
We always no, it's not. It's if you stop and think about that from a rational standpoint, it's enlightening. You know, Ron, we always talk about work ethic too, and how both of us are work ethic in our industry. And again, that goes hand in hand with loving what you do. So, you know, as your advice goes to your niece, and nieces, I should say, you know, again, that daily routine, if you love what you do, you work harder at what you do. And I thoroughly believe that as well. Anyway, we're getting a little off tangent here. Let's get to the subject matter.
Almost going to have an 800 number here soon.
Where's Tony Robbins when you need him?
Tony Robbins. All right, buddy. Hey, you know what? Let's talk about our record last night. We had the over in that game, Denver. You won also. You're killing it right now in football. What's your record right now?
Yeah, I had Denver last night, as Ron alluded to. My NFL right now, my paid selections in the NFL are 11-5 with my last 16. And then combining college football and the NFL, I'm 17-6 with my last 23, which is somewhere around 74%. So things are going very, very well at this particular moment in time, Ron. And as you all know, we can't rest on our laurels. No. Just like when we wake up after a losing day, you got to get right back at it, right, Ron?
Absolutely.
And you got to do the same when you're at a winning day. Don't get cute. And remember how you got to this point. So.
I'll tell you what I tell my players when I coach football after a win. Act like you've been there before.
Exactly right.
You know what I mean? Right. Like don't act surprised that you won a game. You're expected to win, right? And that's the same motto I take with sports handicapping. Now, Ross, we had a really interesting talk off air here about totals, and you said it yesterday during the college football show that totals are gonna, there's something to watch this week. And let's take a look right now of the SBI. And folks, if you are new to the Raymond Report, along with Ross Benjamin here on our podcast, we normally try to open up with how the bookmaker thinks, a quote that Ross uses very often on this show. And right now, looking at the over-unders on the season, we're hitting let me see here, last week number 3 and 2, 68.8% week 2, 62.5%. So the over has really come in a lot of late. in the first 2 weeks of football. And last weekend, it went 10-6 to the over. Or actually, was it 10-6? Yeah, 10-6. That's right. And what I did, Ross, is I went into our database, and you brought up a good point. And you want to elaborate a bit on what I was just saying there?
Yeah, I mean, we were talking off air, and prior to me going on air, I'm looking at the totals on this week's card, and I'm going, wow, look at all these high totals. And then I count through, okay, now yesterday's game is done. There's 15 more games remaining on the NFL board this week, Ron, including Monday night. And 8 of those 15 games have a total of 51 or greater. And I said, Ron, it's got to be unprecedented. And then you went into your database and confirmed that.
Yeah. And what I did, Ross, is I got 2 ways of getting totals that are 51. So let me see. So right here in my database, I can go 54 or more, or I can go 51.5 to 54. And then when I do that, since 1983, it comes up with 216 numbers right here. Actually, when
216 games, actually.
Yeah, 216 games. And then when I go back and I do 54 or more, 79 and 53. Now that's
133 games. And then go ahead, Ron. I'm sorry.
So it's 349 games combined. And that goes back to 1983. And this is, 2020. So that's 37 seasons ago. And that's almost 9.43 overs of that total, 51 and a half and over since 1983, which averages about 9.
A little over 9 a year, we figured. Yeah.
A year, not a week.
A year. And we got 8 this week. Stop and think about that, folks, when the point I was making yesterday and what we just discovered here. And Ron, that's great info. And can people access that database to look at that kind of things? Is there a way to do that?
Yeah. So if you're a member of atsstats.com, you go to your dashboard. And then once you get inside the dashboard, you scroll down to the bottom. And I got 3 databases. I got the regular database, which is like a simple database. And then I got a super database, which you can do various information like I just did right there. And then I got a smart database that concentrates on more specific things like divisions, home favorites. And I'll get to that in our show today. But yeah, that's how people can access.
And is there a cost to that, Ron?
Yeah. So our membership package is here. It's $9.99 for a day, $19.99 for the week, and for the month it's $24.99 or $249 for the year. So we got 4 separate packages where people can purchase a membership at atsstats.com. And Ross, they can also get our selections, mine and your selections. If you go to picks, we have free picks that we give a video on, and then Ron Raymond and Ross Benjamin are our best bets. And right now, you probably want to jump on Ross Benjamin's bandwagon because in football, he's absolutely killing it right now. Yeah. So, yeah.
Thank you,
no problem, buddy. Anything more on these totals you wanted to talk about?
No, and I go back to yesterday. Why is this happening? Okay. And we discussed it. And if you missed yesterday's show, me and Ron, I'm not going to go on and on about this, but, I was asking Ron because he's got experience as a head coach in Canadian football at the high school and college level. And I personally believe the offenses obviously are way ahead of the defenses. When we talk about Major League Baseball, no, I'm not getting off tangent. I'm making an analogy here. Major League Baseball, they always say that pitching is ahead of hitting when they come out of spring training. Well, in this particular instance, okay, when it applies to the NFL specifically, there was no preseason. So usually teams have 4 preseason games and the starters see limited action, but they do see action. They're exposed to, they're able to have live tackling against a different opponent. In practice, you may go live during this past offseason that included no preseason, but there's also that, you put a red shirt on a quarterback to make sure you don't hit him. You know what I mean? You don't want to hurt your own running backs, that kind of thing. You know what, Ron? And it fundamentally, my observations over the first 3 weeks of the NFL is fundamental tackling is really been terrible. And that equates to offenses being at an edge, and it equates a lot to these these high-scoring games that we've seen so far. And, of course, the books are getting hammered the last 2 weeks with the overs, and they're going to make those adjustments. My point is, and I'm going to ask Ron to touch upon this as a coach, my point is keep an eye on these totals as they continue to escalate, because within the next couple weeks, it's going to be almost like defenses now will be where they normally are in week 1 of an NFL season. Does that make sense, Ron? Because now, they've been exposed to live tackling for 4 or 5 weeks now. Anyway, that's my take on why I think the totals have escalated and why we're seeing the totals we're seeing this week. And I'd be interested in hearing your take on, again, if people missed it yesterday, your take on how important it is to hone your skills fundamentally when it comes to tackling in preseason games or in practice in general.
Yeah, no, it's repetition, right? Everything's about repetition. And we saw the Navy coach week 1 against BYU talk about it, said, this is on me because we treated preseason like touch football. And sometimes we forget, football is a violent contact sport. You can't shy away for it, and you can't patty cake, and you can't, it is what it is. It's football. And I know there's a movement to really limit the number of hitting in practice. Like, I remember my first year at Ottawa U, and it was 2013, and Coach Brees was there, and he came from Penn State. And I'll never forget that first week of practice. Like, we was 2-a-days, which is something you don't do anymore. And then in the afternoon, it'd be a rush to the bathtub, the tubs, the ice tubs, because we were hitting so much that the players, and they were coming up to me saying, "You got to talk to Coach B. It's like, we can't continue like this. This is like, we're losing our starters." So you're seeing more. And, the players union, you're seeing it also, like they've been there, right? It's not like 1980 and, like CTEs are really something that they know more about. And I see it in the work ethic of players too. Like they don't, it's, hate to say it, but the players don't want to practice anymore. Like from a high school level, they're happy going twice a week. Like, I don't know what it's like at the pros, but, like at Allen Iverson, we're talking about practice, right?
Yeah. Well, what I would say about the pros and what I've noticed over the last couple of years is, it's everything that you just said, Ron, as far as the evolution of the game from the 80s to now and them not wanting to practice and make sure they're healthy for the game. They take care of their bodies a heck of a lot better.
Oh, yeah.
And it only stands to reason as technology improves, teams are more cognizant of the recovery period. Teams are more cognizant of when a player's banged up and not sending them out there on a Wednesday. That's why you're seeing injury list, and you'll see a category called limited. They're protecting that player. In the meantime, they're rehabbing them. So they do a lot better job in that regard, Ron, I will say. But your points are all, they're 100% correct in my mind.
All right, so let's talk about we got 5 games we're going to break down here, Ross. You know what? I've got my contest picks lined up. I got 4 of the 5 lined up, and it's you when you do your selections, you're always like, okay, you're solid on these 4, but you can talk me in and out of the 5th one. This is one game that I'm really looking hard at, and I'm glad you brought it up in the in one of the 5 selections. So you got Drew Brees, who's 1-2, and I went back in the database to see when was the last time the Saints have lost 2 games in a row, right? And it's not too often you see the Saints. I think it's like 6 times in the last 5 years that they lost 2 games in a row. So New Orleans right now, are we seeing a bit of the decline? Like, it's just like the stock market. The Saints are like, going up on the meter, but now have they peaked? And we're seeing with Michael Thomas out, it takes a big weapon away from Drew Brees, right? Now, going into this one, the Saints are a 4-point road favorite. Now, Ross, what I've done is I looked at all the matchups we have this week, and my philosophy now with all the favorites coming in, and it's just I don't want to back bad teams anymore. You know what I mean? Like, not anymore, but it's just you get into this rut where you think, okay, I know Washington's going to cover this week against Baltimore. I just noticed that week. That's a recipe for disaster when you start hoping for bad teams.
Asking bad teams to do good things for you.
Now, Detroit Lions falls into this category because a couple of reasons that I'm really looking hard at this game, because Detroit are giving us some mixed signals here. You know what I mean? In week 1, they play Chicago. They're leading at halftime 13-6. Week 2, they go to Green Bay. It's 17-14 at halftime. They're Aaron Rodgers at Green Bay. You're battling the big boys, and you're there. And then you just fall apart in the second half. And then last weekend, they go up to Arizona, a team that was, everybody's, putting on a pedestal right now.
2-0 at the time.
Yeah, 2-0. And then they pull a shocker. So, Bill Parcells, I'll say it again. You are what your record says you are. Yeah. And who would ever thought week 4 we'd be looking at a game between the Saints and the Lions that are both 1-2 on the season?
Yeah, this is a tough call for me. And I'll go back to my think like a bookmaker statement that I've made several times. And Ron has mentioned on a couple times, he thinks the same way now. The game opened up at 5.5. New Orleans is a 5.5 point favorite. New Orleans has been an extremely good road team, Ron. I mean, yes, they lost to the Raiders earlier this year, but the last 2 years on the road, this is a team that went 14-2 in regular season action on the road. That's awful damn good. But yet, this line came down to 4. Yep. And I just can't believe public perception when they look at this game, New Orleans and Detroit. Oh, come on. Now Michael Thomas is coming back. He's going to be available this week. So, I mean, the obvious play would be New Orleans, right? Because of the track records of these teams in the last couple of years. And Matt Patricia hasn't been exactly a great acquisition as a head coach. And they don't stop anybody, Detroit defensively. And New Orleans is known for putting up a lot of points. This looks like a trap to me. It really does.
It does.
And it's a game I'm going to stay away from because, as you alluded to, Ron, Detroit, no matter how you cut it right now, you can't categorize them anything but a bad team at this juncture based on what they've done under this current head coach and what they've done so far this year. Yes, they come off a shocking win against Arizona, but that's still a young Arizona team, okay, when it comes down to it. It's against a second-year quarterback in Kyler Murray, who has all the makings and looks of being a great one. Now you're going against a veteran in Drew Brees. He gets his top receiver back. My point is I don't know where to go with this game. And
it's like a dog chasing his tail.
Yeah, exactly. So yeah, it's a game I talked about this with a fellow handicapper this week, Ron, and I said, this is a game that I'm just going to sit and observe because Drew Brees to me looks like a quarterback on the decline. Yep. He just doesn't have the velocity on his throws anymore. I think this year compared to any other year in recent years, beyond Michael Thomas, the Saints are unproven at the wide receiver position. So there's a lack of quality depth at the wide receiver position. You saw that hinder them in the last couple of weeks. And again, I want to see if New Orleans comes up big here. Okay, I wrote them off too soon. If they lose, well, maybe my initial thoughts are right. This isn't the same New Orleans team anymore. So I know I got long-winded with that, but that shows you how much thinking I put into that game.
Well, here's what I'm thinking, and I'm gonna make you think here. Yeah. Like, this is what gets my attention right here. 3-0 to the over.
Yeah.
Now, Buffalo, 3-0, 3-0 to the over. Green Bay, 3-0, 3-0 to the over. What's the difference between those three teams aside from this here? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And this is where I'm trying to think, okay, what's so different between Buffalo, Green Bay, and I'm sure there's other 3-0 teams that have 3-0 to the over, but those are the three that
Seattle.
come in. Seattle. Okay,
yep.
So high score. Does Dallas playing over also?
Let's see. They went over in week 1. No, they went under in week 1 against the Rams, so they're 2-1 to the over.
So that we eliminate. But I'm trying to put all these high-powered offense and the suspect defense and these 3-0 totals, because totals tell you a lot. You know what I mean? It tells you that you're either you got a really bad defense or a good defense, or your offense is the same. Now, when I look at those three teams, Buffalo, Green Bay, and the Green Bay and New Orleans, you got two aging quarterbacks, and you got a quarterback that's, you know, on the cusp of greatness, right? The way he's playing right now.
Right.
So I'm with you. I think there's something here in this game that makes me, if I had to really pull the trigger, like our analytics here, Ross, our computer pick, which has been phenomenal. Actually, you know, let me bring up the record on the season. This is another thing on our ATS stats. You go to the last 100 games, and you can see the straight up record of our computer picks. It's been hitting at a high rate. Let's go to NFL, and apologize for a little bit of a delay here, but here we go. 77%, 37-11 in hitting at 77%. And
on the straight up forecast.
Straight up forecast on the points.
On favorites, Ron, that is?
Yeah, on the no, just straight up, the winning on the straight up.
Oh, as far as what the computer predicts.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay,
so,
okay. Yeah.
You know, so this is what, you know, like you said, it's like a dog chasing his tail, trying to come up with but if I had to, you know, lean with something on this game, I'm probably leaning towards Detroit. But again, you know, you got Detroit off a what do you call it, an upset win. So
yeah, and New Orleans off a home favorite straight up loss. You know what I mean? So it's that.
And here's another thing, Ross. Including this year and the last 2 years, the New Orleans 14-3 straight up on the road, 13-4-0 against the spread, and Detroit at home 5-12 straight up, 7-10-0 against the number, 9-8-0 to the over. One game above to the over. So, you know, we're probably not doing any services to the.
No, I mean, and again, if you're into those kind of stats, the New Orleans 7-0 straight up in ATS the last 2 Octobers.
Yeah.
You know, and then I have a betting angle here, Ron. If
go ahead.
I don't want to cut. You know, anytime you have a road favorite like the New Orleans Saints are, and they're coming off a home favorite straight up loss, which last week they were favored against Green Bay and they lost outright, and their win percentage is between 250 and 400. New Orleans is at 1-2. That's 333, and they're playing a team with a losing record, which obviously Detroit 1-2, 28-7 against the spread, favoring the road favorite 80%. So it's a betting angle, and that just furthers my confusion and probably furthers yours. So
and here's the thing: if the audience is there and they're like, you know what, you're not helping us, and maybe you are, and this is it. Maybe we're talking you into a game. Maybe we're
off
a game.
Oh, yeah.
And then maybe we're just like, you know, there's other games on the board to really consider. And here's another thing to consider: this is only the first trip for the Saints in Detroit since 2014. The last time they played here was 2014, and it was a 24-23 win for the Lions as a 1.5 point underdog. So,
and I agree with you, Ron. If there's a play to be made here, it's probably on a home underdog, because our point's going to be, I know that we're back and forth on our discussion on not really helping you, as Ron said. We are helping you, because our point's going to be this: if it looks too good to be true, sometimes, and most times it is in sports betting. So,
and hey, these what these shows are about. We're not gonna come in here every day and put candles on the cake.
No, I mean, this is not a free pick show, folks. This is something we're trying to. Here's the again. I've said this time and time again, and I know Ron will reiterate this thought. Our goal on this show, even if you watch every day, is to make you a smarter sports bettor today than you were yesterday.
Absolutely. So, all right. Let's go to the next game here, Ross. We got the Cleveland Browns taking on the Dallas Cowboys. Now, the Cowboys a 4.5 point home favorite. The over-under at 55. And the forecast has Dallas winning by 4 here. 26.75 to 22. The over-under at 48.7. The Dallas Cowboys 1-2 in the season. 0-3 against the number. 2-1 to the over-under. Where Cleveland 2-1, 1-2, and 2-1 against the number. Now, looking at Dallas's record at home the last 2 years, including this year, 14-4, 10-7-1 against the number, 12-6 to the over. So a lot of shootouts in Jerry's house the last couple of years. And for Cleveland, 4-13 straight up, 7-10-0 8-9-0, and a bit of a Jekyll and Hyde syndrome going on with the Cleveland Browns. And Baker Mayfield on the road against good quality teams, it doesn't really give me a lot of confidence going into this weekend.
I'm going to use every excuse I can to find a reason to use the Cleveland Browns this week. Having said that,
I know where you're going with this.
So here's the thing, okay? Again, this line opened with Dallas as a 5.5-point favorite. It's down to 4.5 or 4, depending on where you look, Ron. And to Ron's point, this total opened at 54. And it's now at 56. Ron's point about shootouts in Jerry's house. And here's the thing that I look at when I look for underdog value, Ron, and I haven't shared this on the show yet. When it comes to the NFL, it's called rush differential. So what I mean by that is quite simple. How does when you take a team and what they average per carry or per rush, in this example for Cleveland, you're looking at a team that's averaging 4.2 yards per rush on the season, and they're only allowing 3.7 yards per rush. So that gives them what I call a plus 1.5 rush differential. And now on the other side of the coin, when you add up Dallas's numbers or subtract, whatever you want to phrase it as, they're just a plus 0.3 in rush differential. Then I take Cleveland, who's plus 1.5, compare it to Dallas at 0.3, and Cleveland has a plus 1.2 rush differential advantage over Dallas. And to me, that's what Ron terms to be an indicator when I'm looking for NFL underdog value. So just something that now you shouldn't just no-brain your way through that, Ron. I'm not saying that to you.
Yep.
I'm saying it to our listeners and viewers. But it's certainly a good indicator. If you're saying, okay, is there a reason why I might like the Browns here? So.
Well, you know what? You make a good point. They're number 3 in rushing this year. They're over 170 yards per game.
Yeah.
Looking at Nick Chubb and
and Kareem Hunt. To me, Ron, who's a better 1-2 punch out of the backfield in the football right now?
Oh, I don't know. Well, I'll tell you one thing. Kansas City's they're probably we know.
Kareem Hunt made his own bed, right?
Yeah.
You got to stick up for Kansas City in that regard. I mean, he went through some off the field issues that were hard to ignore.
And good for him if he's got his life, back. And so I'm hoping for that. Now, back to this game here, Ross. Like we're talking about the forecast here. The one thing that worries me though is that Cleveland has never beaten Dallas. They're 0-4 straight up, 3-1 against the number, but 0-4 to the under. That, when I see an offer like a 4-0 or an 0-4 to the under, that has me a little bit worried.
When was the last time they played? When was their last meeting?
So the last meeting was on 2016, and it was 35-10 for the Cowboys. Prior to that, at Dallas, it was 23-20. And maybe that's the type of game we see this weekend.
So if you look at Cleveland's roster back, and again, I'm just being the devil's advocate here.
Yep.
If you look at Cleveland's roster now compared to 2016, I would say there's a huge turnover. I would say that you're lucky if there's 10% of the roster was even there at that point. We've also seen 3 head coaching changes since then, So I get the whole history, team against team kind of thing.
Yep.
I really look at that from my perspective, Ron, and I'm certainly not throwing stones at you in this regard, and I know you know that.
It's all
from
good.
my perspective, I put a lot more weight upon division opponents because they're playing each other twice a year. And if there's some kind of history there where one team has been dominant over the other, it takes a lot more. And then you could go, and we're going to be talking about this game, but I'm going to go off tangent here again, okay, to make a point. Yeah. Then you'll have situations like New England and Kansas City, who since 2016, even though they're non-division opponents, Ron, have played each other 5 times. But 2 of those games came in the playoffs. So my point is I look more toward, when I'm going to look at team trends, I want recent history. I want coaching continuity. I want at least 50% or better of the roster has been there through a certain trend.
Well, I'm going to use a Ross Benjamin line right here.
Yeah.
Stats don't lie and liars don't figure.
No, yeah, right. Yeah. Numbers don't lie and liars don't figure.
Exactly.
That's right. So,
but hey,
thanks for making me look. Thanks for making me look like the textbook.
No, but that's a compliment to you, Ross. Because
I get it. I get it.
I always remember these things that you say, and you're so like I think of Cincinnati last week and in Philadelphia. Since he was 8-0-1, and when I see those type of stats, Ross, it's one of those things that they got my number. And that's why I say that, right? I say it with a cheek and tongue.
And I'm going to defend myself. Not that you're trying to make me look stupid and like, look, Ross has contradicted himself once again. No, I mean, again, when I say that numbers don't lie and liars don't figure, it's within the parameters of what I just said. You know what I mean?
I hear you, man.
So thanks, Ron, for that.
Sorry, but but you know what?
I deserve that, man.
No, you know what? This is what I love about this show, man. It's just that we're honest, it's genuine, and it's the information we give. It's not fluff. You know what I mean? Like it's just this is the real things that we talk about, and these are things that a lot of people talk about with their buddies. Like this, to me, this like two guys sitting in a coffee shop or a bar talking about the games this weekend, and just you know. And jabbing each other, right? I'll be honest with you, Ross. I'm thinking of Dallas this weekend as one of my top plays. And it's just and here's one reason why. Look at their strength of schedule this season, right? And this is to your argument too,
right? Exactly. And to your database.
And you know what? I've been doing this 24 years, and there's how many times I probably changed my philosophy sometimes, and it's because of the times we live in. Yep. Like you say it all the time, adjust on the fly. And if you don't adjust your handicapping on the fly and you keep your mentality or your theory of 1980 and 1990 and 2000, well, you're going to be looking in the rearview mirror of all the guys that are making money. And right now, look at this. Cowboys playing Seattle. That's not a breather. Playing the Falcons. Falcons are better than 0-3 team. Let's be honest.
No doubt about it.
The Rams, they're a playoff contender team.
Absolutely.
So, and then I look at Washington. Cleveland plays Washington, Cincinnati. And you know what?
Yeah.
Last weekend, Baltimore, you're on the clock now this weekend because I know you're still a good football team. You got Lamar Jackson, but you lose Lamar Jackson, that whole identity of that Baltimore Raven team just flips a 180 right there. You know, because RG3 is not the same RG3 he was in college in the beginning. So to me, the Ravens are still suspect to me.
Let me tell you something about the Ravens, okay? Again, now that I'm going to go on a little rant here. Look, Lamar Jackson won the MVP last year, Ron, and rightfully so. The kid had a great year, right?
Yeah.
But here's what concerns me about the Ravens, and I don't know if I brought it up this week on this show. Once again, they fell behind in a game. Now, I shouldn't say once again. On the rare time that they fall behind in games, the rare times, I should say, they fall behind in games, Lamar Jackson is not a very good quarterback. Because now you take the rush game away, and when he has to throw sometimes 75 to 80% of the time in catch-up mode, he's not proven he could take his team back from a deficit. Look at the last two playoff years, Ron. They got knocked out in the first round. What happened? The opposition jumped on the lead and took Baltimore out of their comfortable element, where they could run the ball 60% of the time, beat you with play action. Jackson, you're running him on RPOs. Now all of a sudden you got to play catch-up ball, and your quarterback hasn't shown the ability to bring a team back in that situation, okay? Yep. Now, again, when they went on this 14-game regular season win streak, going back to last year to this year, I'm going to go out on a limb. They were never behind in any one of those games by more than a touchdown, okay? Now compare that to Josh Allen. And everybody's going to go, whoa, are you kidding me? Josh Allen compared to Lamar Jackson. Well, let me tell you something about Josh Allen, okay? He started 11 games as a rookie, all 16 games last year. What's that, 27-3 this year? He's made 30 career starts. He's got 10 fourth-quarter comeback wins.
Yeah.
Think about that. Last week against the Rams, okay? So, again, I'm not degrading Lamar Jackson. I think he's a terrific talent. My point being is when you start defining great quarterbacks, I look at game. Look, anybody can play with a lead in this league. Okay.
Yeah.
It's how, what, look, Roger Staubach, Aaron Rodgers, Russell Wilson, they get behind in a game. Their teams are never out of it. Follow me, Ron?
Oh, yeah. No, hey, until he starts. Yeah, no, you can tell when you get on your rant, your New York slang comes out.
Yeah, exactly. Western New York slang. Exactly.
That's awesome. Hey, until he starts, anybody can beat the beatables. Until you start being, as soon as you start winning games that you're an underdog in, then you start building your legacy. And until he starts until he starts winning those underdog games, that's when he will be established himself in the Patrick Mahomes, Tom Brady conversations. All right, so now we know where we stand on that one.
Yeah. Somehow I got onto the Baltimore Ravens with you.
Yeah, pretty soon we'll be talking about the New York Rangers and the Ottawa Senators. Yeah. All right, Seattle taking on the Miami Dolphins. This year, another. I think you did it on purpose this week to get all these games to make us get all worked up here on a Friday, on a football Friday. So -7 here, Seattle, the over-under at 54. ATS forecast, Ross, check this out. 26.8 for Miami, 13.5 for Seattle.
Right on.
Yeah, and you know what? I'm looking at this here, but the only thing that really scares me again, I'm going to say it, you are what your record says you are, and looking at the Seattle Seahawks, they're one of the best road teams in the last couple of years, along with New Orleans, Kansas City, looking at their record.
And the line's been adjusted accordingly.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? They're also laying a touchdown on the road.
Let me backtrack here.
Okay.
They are a good road team, but they're not a great road team. But here, what they are great at is covering the spread on the road. They're 13-7 straight up, 12-5-3 against the number. So that's the number that really has my attention. 11-9 to the over. Now, looking at this game, this is a classic letdown spot after 3 really good games. Look at this. You just faced the Cowboys, the Patriots, and the Falcons. Like, there's no rest for the wicked here for Seattle. And, you got to really coach your ass off if you're Pete Carroll in this situation in the last 3 games. And the good news is you're probably going on the road and build a bit of team chemistry, but you're feeling really good about yourself. And there's a false pretense of going to Miami. It's going to be hot. It's going to be humid. The Dolphins are on what, a 10-day break here?
Yeah. Off the Thursday night game.
Yeah, and look, who they played. Miami's played Jacksonville, Buffalo, and New England. So, there's no preview.
It's not bad.
From Jacksonville, which they destroyed on the road. This is a dangerous spot for the Seattle Seahawks.
Well, scroll back to that, Ron. Scroll back to that 3-game set for both teams, okay?
Yep.
All right, so Jacksonville's 1-2. The Bills are 3-0. That makes 4-2. The Patriots are 2-1. SOS, as Ron has in his database, 6-3. Miami's 3 opponents right now that they've played already are 6-3 on the year.
Yep.
Go back to Seattle, okay? The Cowboys 1-2, the Patriots 2-1. That's 3-3, and the Falcons 0-3, 3-6. So strength of schedule, okay? Secondly, okay, the Seattle Seahawks played last week. They were the national featured game in the 4:00 window against the Dallas Cowboys. And we both know, Ron, when Dallas plays, they're America's team, quote unquote, and people are going to watch. Okay. So now they're in this highlight game. They win it in the last 2 minutes in dramatic fashion. Russell Wilson has another great game. And now they're going on the road on the opposite coast, 3-hour time difference, against a team that has 3 more days plus rest. And here's a Seattle defense that people keep, everybody laughs at me when I go against them this week on my video by taking Miami. It's going to be up on Ron's site, by the way, at my page tomorrow. I got a free pick here on Miami +7, and I'm going to touch upon all this and elaborate more. But to make a long story short, okay, Seattle right now, they've covered all 3 games, but look at these scores: 38-31, 35-30, 38-25, okay? They've asked Russell Wilson to do a lot, Ron. This kid has thrown 14 touchdown passes in, 3 games? That's almost 5 a game. I don't care how great the guy is. And he is great. He's not going to continue at that pace. Sooner or later, you got to stop people. Now, let's look at the opposing quarterbacks against Seattle. Week 1, Matt Ryan, 450 yards passing against Seattle. Week 2, Cam Newton, 397 yards passing against Seattle. Week 3, Dak Prescott, 472 yards passing against Seattle. Do you see a common theme here? Yeah. Okay. And they're not with the exception of possibly the opening game against the Falcons. Look at the last 2 games. Even though Russell Wilson's putting up all those yards, they win by 5 and they win by 7. It's not like they're blowing teams away, and both of those games were home.
Yeah.
So now they're going on the road. We'll see. Anyway, I made my point. Yeah. I'm taking Miami plus the 7 as my free pick over the Seattle Seahawks. And kiss my ass for all of those out there that want to ridicule me on my video. We'll see what happens. Who's laughing last on Monday? I'll be the first to tip my hat to you if you were right.
I need a sound prop that says, book it. Yeah. And look at this, Ross. The last 7 games between these two teams going back to 2000, now we're going back 20 years, not one game has gone over 24 points. 10-12, 21-24, 21-19. Again, it's a bit of history. It's not the same teams, but the history of teams, between these two. There's something about a location about, when will these games play? Were they, November? So, it's not that hot actually in Seattle in November.
And remember, again, we're going back to 2016 and then prior to that, 2012. So it's not like they played in recent years. And, oh, by the way, Ron, the Dolphins are 6-3 against the spread since 2018. As bad as they've been, 6-3 against the spread as a home dog of 7 or less. Yeah. And 8 of those 9 games have gone over the total.
Yeah, no, I agree with you, Ross. There's it's those uncomfortable picks we keep talking about, right? Yeah. Like Miami's an uncomfortable pick that you're like, okay, I'm going to do it, but I'm going to close my eyes. I think when I hit enter.
Say what you will about Ryan Fitzpatrick, but he's a veteran who's shown he's fully capable of exposing the team. Look what he did against Buffalo in week 2. And I consider Buffalo, even though they played terrible, we're going to get to Buffalo defensively in the last 2 games, a very good secondary. He threw for over 300 yards against them.
Yeah, and Fitzpatrick's been good. Like Tua's, he's sitting on the bench just probably saying, okay, keep going. I'm learning.
Yeah, exactly.
All right, New England taking on the Kansas City Chiefs. Now, this is the game of the week. I look at this game. I look at, obviously coaches. I look at a defensive mastermind in Bill Belichick against Andy Reid, and Bieniemy has been a great OC for Kansas City. To me, I think he's up for a next job as a head coach. And going into this game, Ross, I have a slight lean to the Patriots. Kansas City coming off, and I hate going against Mahomes because he's so good. He's really that good.
I learned my lesson last week. I'll tell you that.
Yeah. But the thing is, I don't like going against Belichick. He's a winner.
Especially as a dog, right, Ron? And exactly. A sizable dog at that.
He's only been an underdog twice in the last, 5 years, something like that. I had that stat.
It's a low number.
Yeah, right. Last 2 years, he's only been underdog twice. And once was a couple weeks ago when they played Seattle. Now, going into this game, Kansas City 3-0, 2-1 against the number, 1-2 to the under. And this is what I'm talking about. When I see 3-0 and I see a little bit of balance here, that to me looks like a championship type team. Yeah. Because if it's just 3-0 to the over, that means you got no defense unless you're winning 60-0. But we could be with all these totals going so crazy.
No kidding.
New England 2-1 against the number. Now. And the game plan that Josh McDaniels, drummed up the last couple of games, he's got me, flip-flopping on okay, this guy knows what he's doing. Not that I never thought he wasn't what he's doing, but that high school offense in week 1 against Miami, and then he airs it out in week 2.
And then goes back to it in week 3, that high school offense in week 3.
Yeah, exactly, right? So, okay, you know what? I'm not going to doubt you guys anymore. And but looking at the last time these two teams met, Kansas City finally got that win in New England. It was December 8th last year. I think it was week 16 or something like that. Yeah. So going to Kansas City the last time the New England They beat them. It was 37-31. I think that was a playoff game too.
Yes, it was.
Yeah.
There's been 5 meetings between these teams, Ron, since 2016, which is highly unusual in that short amount of time for non-division opponents to play each other. Like I alluded to before, 2 of those have been postseason games, and New England has won 3 of those 5 contests. But again, they're only 1-2 against Kansas City during that time during the regular season.
Yeah. So, you know what, going into this game, Ross, the number, look at this, the computer is right on the number 7.
Yeah.
So I got a small lean to New England.
I agree, Ron. I'm with you on that. Right now, as we speak, I'm going to look for any reason to use New England in this game. Reluctantly, by the way.
Well, that sucks. We got nothing to fight about.
Reluctantly, because you know where I was going to go with this, but I'm going to leave it alone.
Yeah. Okay. So, I'm going to have a small lean to New England. Now, New England on the road, Ross, the last 2 years, road team, 11-8, 10-9 against the number. I don't know if that seems right. 8-11 to the under.
Last 2 years, where on the road, Ron?
Yeah,
it's possible.
Okay. Yeah, 11-8. I thought it'd be a little.
No, wait a minute. That's not right. No, it can't be, because they were 12-4 last year, and they only lost. I mean, they've only lost 5 games since the start of last year, Ron.
This is the beauty about owning the website. Let's go to the tape.
There we go.
Yeah, and I'll show people exactly if you want to know how we use the website. So let's go 2018 to 2020.
Oh, 2018. I was thinking you were saying beginning of last year. Maybe it's possible then. Yeah.
Okay, and then we're going to go to, say, October 3rd. And let's go. Remember, 11-8.
11-8, okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's going back to 2018.
2000, yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
So, no, hey, you know what? It's good that we have that to our access. But you know what,
it's
Rob?
a good correction piece. There you go, folks.
Yeah.
You know, not for nothing, this database is well worth your while. It doesn't mean that you don't need to purchase picks from us, because there's stuff in there that's pertinent and non-pertinent as it applies to a specific matchup. But it's certainly a learning tool, and it certainly challenges you to learn. So again, I would really highly recommend that, folks, for the small investment.
Yeah, tools in the toolbox. You won't see a mechanic change a tire with a blow dryer, right?
Exactly right, buddy. Exactly right.
All right, so let's go to the next game here, Ross, since we agree on this one.
Thank God.
yeah. But I hate doing Buffalo Bills game because we're both Bills fans. It's always
but it's an intriguing matchup, I think, Ron. You know what I mean?
And here's the thing: going into this game, Buffalo's 3-0, the Raiders 2-1, coming off a loss last weekend. Burst their bubble a bit against New England. And now the Bills, this is what scares me a bit, a 3-point road favorite. And going into Vegas the total's 52, another high number. The forecast, you can't get more tighter than that, 24.75 to 24.73. And that's why I told the programmer, I said, give me 2 decimals, because sometimes it's going to be that tight. 49.4 the total, so it does like it to go under. You know what, Ross, if I was to bet this game, I'm probably leaning to the under, because the law of average to me has to eventually come to kick in here, but especially with 2 teams with a 6-0 over-under record. But going into this game, the Bills look good. 3-0, sitting in first place in the AFC East. And you say what you want about last weekend. They blew a 28-3 lead, but they showed some character with a suspect pass interference call, which we'll take, because we've how many of those.
A suspect interception call too. So
exactly.
6-1,
But my only concern though is they haven't done well against a Raider team. Now Oakland or Las Vegas, going back, this will be the 7th game. The 8th game going into this, they're 1-6 straight up against the Raiders, 2-5 against the number, 5-2 to the over. But the Raiders are 6-4 against the Bills in the last 10 overall, 7-3 against the number, 8-2. But again, this is a totally different Bills team that we're used to. Now looking at the games for Buffalo, they played the Rams, the Dolphins, the Jets. So really one breather in there. And then you look at the Raiders, Carolina, Saints, and Patriots. They've had not an easy schedule either. So this to me is going to be I think a really good game for both teams. And it's going to be tough for the Raiders because they went on the East Coast last week, and then they fly back and played the Patriots, where the Bills, have some home cooking, had some good practices, and now hopefully they don't get there too early in Las Vegas.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I think this team is very disciplined, so that's not going to be an issue. Here, Ron, you like the under. So anytime you have an NFL team with a total of 49.5 or greater, and they're coming off a loss like the Raiders are, they're coming off that loss at New England, and they're facing a team that's won 3 or more games in a row, like Buffalo. They're 3-0 on the year. 22-4 to the under since 2016.
Wow.
And that includes 17-0 to the under since 2018. And the average total in those 26 games, 52.3, pretty close to what we're looking at right now, Ron. And there was a combined average of 44.5 points scored per game. So that supports your theory on the under, So again, we're looking at these escalated totals, folks. Eventually they're going to, we're going to see some games go under that number, and you're going to see games go under the number that are relatively high scoring by NFL standards, right? So that's a thing to look at. And, this is a Raiders defense. It's also allowed 388 yards or more in each of their last 3 games. Buffalo is really clicking offensively. And let's not forget, folks, as far as concerns about Buffalo being a road favorite in this game, and I'm not saying the Bills are to play, but keep in mind the Bills since last year are 7-2 in regular season away games. They've actually been much better on the road, Ron, than they've been at home, where they're just 6-4 during that exact time frame.
And you know what, Ross? Milano and Edmonds, who were question marks last week, seem to be good to go this week. So, and with a week of more of confidence under the belt about, because once a player's injured, it's in his head, right?
Yes.
And hopefully those Edmonds and Milano are healthy this week. And look at this, Ross. The Buffalo Bills on the road the last 3 years versus non-division opponents, 1-10 to the under. So,
and Sean McDermott's time in Buffalo up until this year, which they're 3-0 over, he's had a history of going under. So, but just keep in mind, whole different Buffalo offense. One concern for the Bills is John Brown is questionable for this game with an injury. He hasn't practiced this week. The good news is this rookie Gabriel Davis out of Central Florida has been magnificent when he's been put on the field. So interesting matchup, Ron.
Yeah, no, it's it's going to be a great week. Hey, Football Friday, baby.
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
Man. Like it's my juices going. I don't know.
This is
you think my juices were going today, Ron? I don't know.
Buddy, this is our 47th show together.
Wow.
Yeah. 47 shows, and this was probably the most animated we've ever gotten on.
Yeah, this is a Wall of Famer.
It took week 4 to get going, man.
Exactly right. Yeah. I'm fired up, man.
Yeah, me too.
Anyway, look at Ron.
I'm going to take it off for a run.
I got a couple. We got just a minute or two left here, but just want to remind the viewers, you can get my picks by going to ATSstats.com. That's Ron's site. If you go to the picks logo at the top of the page, it'll be a drop-down menu with me and Ron's name. You can just click on Ross Benjamin. Obviously, you know how to get to Ron Raymond. And you'll see all my picks there. I give you a little news report of how I've done lately. Weekly package is $149. Monthly package, $499. If I don't make a profit at the end of your subscription, we're going to extend that subscription for you until you do. Okay, so you get my personal guarantee in that regard. NFL 11-5, last 16. College football, the last 2 Saturdays, a perfect 6-0. So again, that's ATSstats.com. If you want to buy just daily packages, you can go to my website as well. If you just like to dabble once in a while, that's rbwins.com, Ron. What do you have on tap, buddy?
Yeah, and just to add to that, Ross, if people do buy a membership or our picks, you get also a membership at ATSstats.com. So it's like a double whammy. You get the picks and you get access to all
the
database and all, and the full access to the website. And also, I'll have my selections. Last week, my contest picks went 6-1 at the World Series of Handicapping. I will have 5 selections. My best bet last weekend was New England. I'll have another 5-star best bet going this week. So if you're looking for that one big play, I will have it up very shortly today before 3 p.m. Eastern. And so there you go, Ross. Football Friday is in the books, week number 4. Looking forward to this weekend, and wish everybody a great weekend. And you also, Ross, have a great weekend, buddy.
Back at you, bud.
And that's it for week number 4. As always, don't forget, you're listening to the Rain Report Sports Betting Podcast along with Ross Benjamin for a Friday, October 2nd. As always, shop for value, play those percentages. We'll see you back shortly with another Raymond Report.